Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is our first live episode of Who Watch. So it's gonna pretty much follow the same structure as the pod, but we're gonna add some. Hopefully, have additional voices. And yeah, it's gonna be chaotic. I'm so sorry, but y'all know who we are. Y'all know what y'all signed up for. So let's get to it. It's time for Who Watch. Time in relative blackness in space.
Hey y'all, it's DJ and Nick coming to you live, like live from the Time Vortex. And like Nick said, it's our first TARBIS episode, like live show. We are excited to discuss the Series 14 Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road, with everyone who's here participating.
Yes. So the official synopsis for this episode is long ago on Christmas Eve, a baby was abandoned in the snow. Today, Ruby Sunday meets the doctor, stolen babies, goblins, and perhaps the secret of her birth. Let's get into the recap.
Okay, hold on. Because of course now. All right. I thought my phone left that. Our recap. So we start this church. Cold, snowy, lots of questions. What's happening? This newborn baby gets left at the door of the church on the snow, mind you, like not even, in a basket. But on the snow, the baby's left. The doctor is kind of watching. We're like, what's happening here? We learn that this baby is named Ruby after the street that the church is on and is adopted by a woman named Carla Sunday. We learn this because 19 years later, Ruby is doing an interview for a TV show with Davina McCall, who lots of Americans learned is like personality this celebrity. So that was cool to kind of see like there's someone here that we should know about, and that was fun. But yeah, she's doing this show. She's trying to find out about her birth family, even though she's very grateful for the adopted family that she had. And that kind of goes chaotic because there's goblins running around like trying to off people. It's like that was like really bad accidents were caused. This was not minor accidents here. So that's really chaotic. And then we switch to this club scene where Ruby is watching the doctor dancing and having this reaction we're all having while we are watching the doctor dancing. I was like, that is the appropriate facial expression. You
I
are
was
mirroring my
like,
face.
yeah. The whole time
It
I had
was
to run it back. I was like, this is the moment.
lovely.
I just want to live in this moment for the rest of the hour of this episode. But yeah, sorry, go carry on.
Oh, it's okay. It needed that. Yeah, he's in a rib tank. Like there's fashion happening, there's music happening, there's a lot happening. It was glorious. So we get that, and then they have a little interaction where he's talking to Ruby and she's like, yeah, I'm just like an unlucky person. He's like, no, it's much worse. Which was a very cryptic thing to leave her on, but we see her friends. He rescues her from a snowman collapsing on their car. And then we get to see like Ruby with her family, Ruby with Carla. Carla learns that they have a newborn coming to them. Like she's still fostering kids, even 19 years after Ruby. They have a newborn. The whole family's really excited about it. They don't like the baby's name though. Like justice for any Lulu Bell out there. Sorry if this episode was was rough for you. But so they got baby Lulu Bell. Nobody is getting Cherry, the grandmother, her tea, and it's a problem. And when Carla goes out for groceries and stuff, Ruby gets a call from Davina, who is like, I keep having these accidents. I don't know what's going on. But we don't have time to help Davina because the goblins steal the baby. So she hangs up with Davina. We think this lady might just got by a Christmas tree, but we don't have time. We gotta move forward. And Carla chases after the goblins, though there was in our Discord conversation, like various feelings about the urgency with which she's doing this, whether or not she's actually like trying to get that baby back, like she should. The doctor joins her. It's very cute. We get new gadgets, these new gloves, put it on the agenda. And after some musical theater happening, after
Not a musical. I said not
performance,
a
some
musical.
drama. Yes, there's musical theater. There's lots of good lines, and we do eventually rescue Lulu Bell, bring her home, get her situated a little bit. Carla comes home, is like, "Who is this man? What is going on? What are y'all doing to this baby?" And before any of those questions can be answered for her, Ruby disappears. Um, Ruby disappears, and the doctor's like, "What's going on?" He realizes that Carla and Cherry don't remember Ruby, and that must mean that the goblins have gone back to the time of Ruby's birth and taken baby Ruby instead of baby Lulu Bell. Um, this not only erases the family's memory of Ruby, but also all of their happiness and joy and love for children, which is something we'll come back to in the rants and raves. But it was an interesting moment. The doctor does go back in time, of save baby Ruby by killing the Goblin King. I have questions about if that was the only way to do it, but it's fine. And once we return to the present, all is normal. Ruby is back. She has a moment where she's putting pieces together and she's like, damn, like this man is a like something is happening, right? She's like realizing that she's just been on go and finally chases after the doctor, has some encouragement from a neighbor who we've learned knows who the doctor is and what a TARDIS is, but we don't know anything about her. And yeah, she's a companion now. She's crew. So that's kind of how it goes. It was, now that I have talked through it a lot in the episode, it's also fun. There was ups and downs, all of that. I
Nice,
see here.
nice rundown.
Bree is trying to give like Carla some, or not Ruby, some grace in saying like fight or flight. Like, what do you do? She froze up.
No.
Yes,
It's the baby. It's the baby.
you
She was
don't
like, damn,
freeze
look
when
at
the
that baby
baby is
getting
being
taken. That's
taken.
crazy.
The
She
last
like,
thing that would
dang.
cause me to freeze as a parent and a teacher, and someone abducting the child is not what.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like if she kept, like, she was so aware of it. It wasn't like it was happening and she wasn't fully processing. She like, damn, that baby is getting taken out the window. That's crazy to me. Like, I ain't never seen nothing like that. That's wild. Like, the baby is going out the window. Look, just floating out the window. And I'm just like, girl, action. Let's move. Let's get to
Get
it.
out there.
Like,
She's like talking to them. She's like, "Are you hissing at me?" Blah. And I'm like, "Hey, there is a child."
and I want to say hey to Britt, Bree, Kay, Amani, Rebecca are
Lord.
currently in here with us. They in here with us. Kay don't go here, but she gonna learn there's something crazy going on. It's something going on because they got goblins. They still in babies. Apparently they call goblins because they will gobble you up. That's what the doctor said. I ain't want to gossip. That's what the doctor said. Which I was like, okay, fine. I'm with it. Whatever. um, so it was like a fun fact. We learned this, and I learned this, and I don't know who else learned this, but in Ty, our friend Ty Gooden, got to interview Shooty and Millie Gibson, and apparently they just told them like action, and they did that singing like live on set. They did not hit up the studio. Like Shooty was like, I thought I was gonna do like we were gonna do a little pre-record. No, they had them on the set just hitting the vocal.
I love that.
And so, and then they had to touch it up and get a little tune because But I was surprised by that. But it's also like I love the energy of that, of them just like popping up and being like, y'all gotta go ahead and hit this little musical number right here, right now. That's wild. But I love that because it shows that they have the chops, they have the ability, so that's fun. Yeah, I was really I don't love musicals if y'all know, but I was like, okay, wait a minute, the goblins they know how to party for one. The goblins know how to get down. I can't hate on the goblins. But I did have a question, and I guess I'm gonna start I'm gonna start off the rants and raves with this question. And then we're gonna open it up. So if you're in the back end, if you're in the backstage and you want to be on camera, let us know because we will start inviting people in. Yeah. This is just a light intro so we can get into it because we're gonna get into it. this is just a quick little because I have a question. And the question is, what that one little ass baby gonna do with all them goblins? It's at least 500 goblins. It's 500 goblins, okay? They all think about this same baby. I'm like, that's a very small baby. And I know that this is not the point. And this is very horror movie of me to be like, that baby is not going to be sufficient to feed the amount of people on this.
Wondered if it was a situation where like the king eats the baby and then the king is able to provide nourishment.
Okay.
Milk.
I was nervous because I also was like, everything I thought of was more heinous than the original thing I was thinking about. Because I was like, maybe the king absorbs the baby and then produces something that they all eat, but they all like get the essence of the baby. But then I was like, maybe it's an angel situation where the baby is not the sustenance, but it's the energy around the baby that's the sustenance. Like, because they say, oh, it's the chaos energy. But I'm like, y'all create the chaos energy, so y'all can just go chaos anybody. That don't make it. Didn't make sense. I was really like the logistics.
Why does it have to be a baby? Yeah.
The logistics of it actually, I was genuinely like, no, this ain't working. Usually I can let it go. I was like, that's not the amount of baby provided for the amount of people thinking about this baby is not. It's not the math ain't mathing.
Especially because it was like weeks of work, right?
That's like for that one.
Sets this interview to get to this one moment with this one child. It's not like they've been recruiting babies across.
Or like something, or like you could go to an orphanage and wreak havoc and have a bunch of babies. I don't know. Like I just was like, and I'm not advocating for going to get. I'm just saying the story is so many things don't make sense just right off the bat that I was like, they too happy to be sharing that baby because I know me personally, I'm not going to bring the baby back. Me and the homie who got the baby finna go snack on the baby. Over here, I'm like, oh, we couldn't get them. Hey, that had to happen. Hey, we got to try for the next baby. They stopped us. Like, I don't know. I was really sitting there like, I don't understand this. And everything I thought of was more heinous and more like horrifying than the original thing. So I was like, let me not think too much about it. However, my mind works the way it works. So, yeah, I was sitting there thinking about the logistics of the baby. And I was like, this is not working for me at all. Like that's the first thing that took me, like genuinely took me out because I was like, especially when they showed the Goblin King, I'm like, wait, he's definitely gonna solo this baby. He's not sharing this baby with nobody. And then the one goblin's like, he can eat me. He's so dreamy. I'm like, see, now I get that as a sentiment because we've said these kind of things, but I'm just like, wait, is there a cannibalism going on in Goblin Kingdom? What's going on? I need a goblin background. I need to know the goblin lore because now I have so many questions, like way more questions than I think I would have had if we just didn't. It was like several things where I'm like, I need information about the goblins. I've never thought about it, and now I only can think about like all these questions about the logistics of goblin kind. So yeah, that was my first rank, and I'm like, nah, y'all got to come back. Like y'all got to circle back to the goblins. We got to figure out how they work, how they tick.
And I said in the like overview, right, that the doctor kills the king at the end, like pierces him with the turtle. But now you have me questioning, like, does that kill all of them? Like, what is the like king?
I mean, like the
connection, like
right, like maybe because he's like we only see the top half, which I assume is a part of like just they like we building a puppet. That puppet is not moving, so you're gonna see the torso up, right? But maybe it's like he's part. Maybe the ropes are part of him, right? Maybe the ropes
like what? Yeah, like
are like a part of his essence.
One goblin was killed, but we may have just extinguished an entire ship of time.
This might have been a whole nother. Oh no! See, I need to know about the goblin. Like now, we got to have a whole goblin backstory. Somebody got to write the like novel so we can know how the goblins, how they world work. Because I'm like, I love the like. This is the language of, you know, like of chance or whatever, like luck and of coincidence, and this is how their world and their universe works, right? And I was like, with that, I was like, yes, because like everything is. This is one of my quotes, but I'm gonna use it here because it makes sense. But it's like the quote is like, "Oh, it's magic," and he's like, "No, it's just a different language. It's a different kind of physics." She was like, "Yeah, like magic," because that is essentially what magic is, like a science that we don't understand by another word, right? So like it's magic to us because this ain't how our physics work. And I love that, but I was just like, now I have at least 7,000 questions. You just went ahead and pierced him like Ursula, said, you up out of here. Y'all done disappeared. So we don't know if this is a one goblin taking out situation. We don't know if it was a whole, like, I assume there are multiple ships. So I feel like the goblin race is probably fine. But I just like, y'all done left me with too many questions about these goblins. And I honestly could not, like, I could live without thinking about goblins. I have gone this long without never thinking about goblins. So yeah. So yeah, I was like, what's going on with these goblins? We need to have a goblin like refresher. You need to give us the lore. I was say like that literally, I was like sitting there like, that's a little baby, and that's a lot of goblins. Like, that was my first thought when they showed all of them. I'm like, they having them a little song about it and everything. So Russell, we need to know. Russell T. Davies at Russell. I know somebody got his ad. I don't, because I try not to follow these people so I don't have no. So I won't hit them on the line because I will. But someone tell him that we need to know the goblin lore ASAP. Because it's important now. You made it important, so now it's important. Let's get to it.
You started with one of your rants, but we're going to start with raves. So let's run it back. Let's go to the
fun rant,
things where what?
I said it was a fun rant though. It was like
no, it was a good framing for the absurdity of the episode. So yeah, one kind of just like, I think Britt is trying to get on here at some point, so but a kind of shared like group rave is just about Ncuti dancing. Ncuti in general, yes, and then the like club scene where Ruby's like watching him dance. We talked about it a little bit, but the fashion too. Someone said it. I didn't really realize that there were like 4 outfits, like 3 or 4 outfits in the episode. I know there was like the leather jacket, which we are in for most of the episode, and I guess the outfit from the club. Maybe there were 2 others that I missed, but yes, that all is part of the group raves, the things that we loved.
It's just like, it's not just the dancing, because it's like we've seen that, the doctor dancing a little cute little, whatever. It was the like full out dancing like nobody's watching, arms up, like it's just, it was the whole thing. It's like being unobserved, like the way you dance when you are literally unobserved. And it was like they were fully in that. And then of course with the outfit and like the twirl of the kill, I was like, no, this is, I meant it. I was like so shook in that moment. It was like my favorite moment because I was just like, I said this in our community. I was like, this is like how the doctor had, like in my head, if I was making my version or like my canon version of a doctor, and I was like, oh, like what would my doctor be like? It is like, this is such a close representation of that kind of like dream version of the doctor for me. And like it's just outside of also like the fact that it's a Black doctor, right? But it's like also genuinely just like the personality, like the way they just like set, like the way they move around, the way they talk. They're like he's like, girl, why would you jump on this ladder? Like, who does that? Like, sis, what are we doing? It was just something about it, like, because that's exactly, even if we know the story of why, like why she did that. I just love that he's like, why would you, like, he would do it, mind you, but like, why would you do that? Like, who does that? Like, would you jump on a ladder? But you have gloves so you can hang on and stuff. Clearly, y'all the same type of person. I don't know, but I just, the moment, I love it because it was just the moment where I was like, oh, this is really, it's not just the like, oh, I like this actor, or it's like, this is the doctor how I envision him. And so it was the full, like, seeing that like realized and actualized in the show. I was like, oh, I'm not just projecting this onto this version of the doctor or to this actor. This is actually them, right? Like, this is actually the doctor we're getting. We're getting what we thought we were getting, or what we hoped we were getting. And I was like, yeah. So it was a lot to it, but I loved it.
And I think it being like the first full episode too, right? Because a lot of times after a regeneration, like the doctor is in pain. Like the doctor is like recovering, like they don't really have, they can't go at like full speed or whatever. And yeah, so it would, because this bi-generation happened differently. And the doctor, we don't know how much time has happened, I guess, since then. Like we're seeing the Doctor kind of like in full form and not necessarily still recovering from the regeneration of it all, the bi-generation of it all. And so that was fun too. I also like those other episodes where like the Doctor's trying to figure out how to put themselves back together. Like I don't dislike that, but it is a sort of different starting point, it feels like, for this series. Like we're just already fully in there.
Yeah. What about you, Rebecca?
Yeah, I agree. Like I love a post regeneration crisis. I love them, but I also love this. Like just the joy and the freedom. Like, oh my god, he's actually happy. When does this happen? Like never. Like just absolutely thrilled, and especially because he's a black doctor, he's a queer doctor. Like just to be able to see that is like, yeah, cry. I cry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was while he's looking for the goblins too, right? So it's not that he's just like happy and dancing because he doesn't know what's happening. It's like he's holding the thing together, which is also right. He's holding this like concern for whatever is happening with this girl and her endless bad luck, and then also whatever else he's carrying from travels, but then allowing this moment of like, I'm in this space right now.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, maybe some of the therapy that was like multiple things we're able to be, of multiple minds. That's lovely.
Yeah, that was my main thing. I was just like, he just like loving, he's just having a gay old time. And I mean, like, genuinely just, we love a keep on keeping on. We always carry humor with trauma and all this other stuff, but I just love that they let us see the lightness and like the frivolity and just the dancing. Like we know that he's aware and his clock and everything going on, but it's also like, but me hitting this little two step ain't gonna stop the show, right? Like I still got time to have fun and enjoy the space while I'm in it. I love that. I was that. I'm telling you, I didn't run it back a few times. And I was just like, stop. Amani was so kind to make the gifs or provide the gifs for me. And I got to loop it on my phone. I'm just like, yes, go. Like, I just, the whole
Never
thing.
save something so fast.
I was like, boop, that's mine. And then my phone actually can like play movies, like videos and gifs on the like home screen. Don't play with me. Don't play every time. I'm like, it's not normal, but it's what I'm doing. So what can you do? I never forgot where we were, child.
Now, but then it wasn't, so we have the moment in the club, right? But then when the Doctor leaves the club and is sort of on the street, which I guess at that point he's just annoyed by like the increasing violence of the goblins, but there is the exchange with maybe I don't know if they're like a police officer or just like a resource officer. Maybe it does not matter, but stand on this.
Their version of like a meter maid, like a person who is in law
That's what I'm saying.
enforcement,
Like, okay,
they can't make arrests,
like
but they can
public
give tickets.
servant
Right, there
that
we
was
go. The public servant.
necessarily a cop. Who can say? But this person is trying to report the fact that the Doctor just had like a massive snowman fall on him, and the Doctor's like, "Listen, I truly don't have time."
Right.
Like, here's some very confusing language about who I am that's not helpful to you. And then eventually like gets the guy to go away by telling him that his fiance will say yes when he proposes, which was one of my really a rant moment. And Nick added some context for me that's like, maybe I don't know, maybe it was just my sort of hearing or understanding of it, but it was one of those moments that again made me a bit confused about what we're trying to do with gender overall, or why we need to bring it up in specific moments. Because what the Doctor says to this man is like, your fiance is going to say yes when you propose, and then is like, says something about how he knows that the fiance is a woman because the guy has this diamond, and like, most men don't want a diamond. And I was like, is that true? I don't know, man. I haven't found it. I assume like we've been having this like men like flowers moment. Maybe men like diamonds, and we just haven't talked enough about it. Or maybe it's like a statistical thing, which is what Nick was saying. Like maybe this is like a coding thing. But it also is just like, it felt real like why are we in, like, you know, I think the conversation could have happened without it. So that was interesting to me. But hopefully the guy gets his proposal and this all works out for the best. But yeah, I was curious if that caught anyone else off or if anyone was just like, at that moment before we then moved on.
No,
Hi, Britt.
I noticed the same thing. Hey, Brett, I was like, you want to join? She's like, sure. I said, pop. Didn't give her no chance, no countdown. No, I literally had the same thought. I was like, but then like when I thought about the words, I was like, this just sounds like a statistic. Like he was just taking a statistic, like, oh, 90% of guys, like men, do not choose diamonds. And I'm also still like, this brought me to this one of those things where I'm like, now I gotta go down the rabbit hole because I'm like, are you like, how many men are being proposed to in this scenario? Like, if men are being proposed to, are they like that changes, right? Like, whatever. But I took it as a statistic, but I also agree that it's also one of those things that you could have avoided entirely by just not assuming that it was a girl. You could have just been your partner, they will love it. So easy. It's so easy to swap out they for she. To then not have to go back and be like, oh, because men don't like diamonds. Hey, we're going back to that gender essentialism. I'm sure men love diamonds. I'm sure if they was out here and they was getting the big diamonds from they partners or whatever,
I'm just like,
what is the historical proof? But like, it's not important to the story. So you just did it to be like, oh, that's why he said she. That's going too far in the correction. This is the kind of thing that people assume or accuse liberals of being like upset about. That's not a thing I would have been upset about had you not called attention to it. So it's one of those things. Like you could have like, oh yeah, they're gonna say yes. Easy. Then you don't have to like qualify that at all. Like, oh, really? Yeah, because you have the diamond in your pocket and you are so excited and blah blah blah. You could have took all the things. You didn't have to add no gender to that. It's just like that first episode or the first special. It's like it adds nothing because you can get to that same point without it. And my whole thing is if you're adding gender just to discuss gender, that is weird. That's weird to me because you can just not do it. You can just avoid it and we don't have to talk about it. It's fine. Like it doesn't have, you can address things without addressing them by just being conscious of the way those things exist naturally. You don't have to like pull it into the conversation where it does not apply. So that was one of the things I also agree with. But I did it did come out to me like, oh, I'm just repeating the statistic. So
maybe
I kind of let them have it.
That. I'm like, that's
right. But now I'm just like, also like, again, where would you have gotten that? Like, where's the survey of men who are being proposed to? And those men are like, I did not choose. Right, I did not choose diamond. I want a solid band. I'm like, okay, damn, all right. Like, I don't know. But I was like, this sounds like a statistic, but it's also unnecessary. Next time, just don't gender the partner. Or if they gender the partner, I'm sure there would have been people like, why would you assume it's a woman? But like, I think it's better to let them ask that question than to try to answer it before it's asked. Because now a lot of people who was not thinking about it at all are like, okay, that seems like a thing that you made up for this statement, but fine. So yeah, it was weird because it was unnecessary. It's mainly the unnecessariness of it. Like if it was like, oh, you're trying to work your way back out of a problem, and I get that, then that's fine because at least you're trying to fix a problem. You created the problem. Like you are the source of the issue. This is very much something you could have just outright avoided. But what can you do? What can you do? How about where we at? We on a rant. We on a rave.
Rave. We're on a rave. Yeah. Brett, do you want to? I shared a bit about like what you said about the fashion and all that, but is there another rave that you want to share from the episode?
I mean, you got mine. I just think the way that he was so free twirling in a nightclub, and I don't know, it was a kilt type thing. I don't know what the thing was, but it was great.
Yeah.
And also it gave us another like leg and arm moment, which I appreciated. I don't remember. I said out loud when I watched it, I don't remember feeling like the Doctor had that much fun before. And part of that I'm sure has to do with him being Black as well. But it just hit me like, wow, he's having so much fun. And that it's not something I usually associate with Doctor Who episodes all the time. Because usually it's just, the stress of of things. But I loved it. And I liked the fashion. And I liked that it felt he was very much his own Doctor immediately.
I think it also connects to like my rave that I put on here, which is that I actually really enjoyed Ruby. I wasn't sure, how I would feel. I never know with the companions. This is one of those fandom things that we all like. I'd be like, oh man, really intense people in fandom are so annoying, blah, 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 blah. But then this is one of the things I get intense about. Just like, how am I going to feel about this companion? Are they going to be annoying? Are they going to match the doctor? Blah, 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 blah. But Ruby seems just like the fact that she was so willing to go with the flow. She's like, yeah, man, I'll just take this episode. But I'm not like, I don't know. She's like laughing with her friends about it. She's still caring for the people around her. She's like having fun at the club. There was something about that had me invested. And despite the lack of urgency in getting this she's able to come back around to her at the end. So I think it's an interesting pairing. Maybe part of it is like that they're whatever. The doctor is ancient, but like presentation wise, like close in age. And in a similar way to like Jodie and Yaz and
Ryan. Oh my god.
gosh.
You said I gotta deal with because that is just disrespectful.
It was just a brain fart
playing
moment,
my brain face. I like her too.
Maybe that's part of it, but she's fun.
Yeah, I agree. I like her. So the thing is, when she was cast, I was like, okay, Mr. Davies, he got a type, he got a vibe, and I was like, she's giving roles. Young, kind of cute little blonde. And then the thing is, at the beginning, there's a little vibe going on when she can hear him dance. She like, and then I'm like, I'm like, hold on, not too much, because I get it. But also, I feel like hopefully they nip that in the bud with the whole like him taking the little infant baby kissing on the forehead. Like, not that kind of situation. I'm praying on it because I don't, y'all know I don't like this.
It'd be strange to walk that back after.
Right, it would be weird. But at the beginning, before they got to that part, it was a part where I was like, oh, they might be trying to do something. And I can't be mad about it because, again, it's also the presentation. Like, the companion only knows this person as the person they meet. So they're like, oh, yeah, this is like a 20-something, like a hot guy, whatever. I can see that. So I was kind of like, I'm going to let this happen. But obviously, by the end, I'm like, if they do this, I'm going to have to go throw hands. That's not happening. But I really what made me like her was her in her car with her, like her in the car with her friends, and they just having a key about it. Like, girl, I done got fired from that job. I done dropped it, wasn't it? Because that's just how me and my friends are, like how we talk. Like, again, we hold trauma and humor left, like it, trauma in this hand, humor in this hand, and it's like some stuff just be funny. Like, it's like I can't do nothing about it. I can only laugh. And like I loved how she was like, ain't nothing to be done about it. Like, this happened. And so I love that about her. And I love that she had the friends that were just like, because they were all with the shit. Like, I feel like if they have episodes where they back on Earth and come going down, everybody got to be involved. All of them are going to be with it. Like, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love that, in the first RTD seasons. Like, we have Mickey. We have, Rose Mama does help. Like, when it is required. She talk a lot of mess, but she does help, right? So I just like the idea that a person having a home base and like people that they can come home and be like, bruh, I can't really explain this, but shit is going down. I kind of feel like she has that. I just really and I like her relationship with her family because I feel like I like how she relates to them. Like, I feel like I can't explain this well, but there is a certain dynamic that I feel like they have when there's like interracial family dynamic that they like get it wrong. Now we're gonna get into this later in a bit, but I did like how I don't explain this. She knows that she's like the white granddaughter. Like, I don't explain it. I feel like she's aware of it, but it doesn't. It's hard to explain, but it's a thing that you just know, like you pick up, and it's probably just because of the actresses that she was working against, who like they all just played it very like natural. And so it felt like I've known these kind of families where it's like either you're biracial, but you only spend time with the part of your family that is, one side. So you only around the white people, you only around the white people. So you don't. She just feels like a character who is aware of her connection to her family and her connection to the world outside of that, because like I'm still a white girl in this world, even though I come home to my Black family. Yeah, so I liked her. I thought she was really cute. I thought she was like fun, and I also really liked. Again, for a minute I was like, I think they might be trying to do a romance thing, and I was kind of okay with it again because I like. It's hard to argue. It's like I'm looking at the same person you're looking at. It's like I can see how it happens. I can't argue with it. But and I wasn't mad about that for some reason. Like normally that immediately I'm like, here they go. Right? Like, oh, they have to do it. But I actually wasn't mad about it. So that tells me I like her more than I realized. Because if it would have been somebody I didn't like, and no offense to you, I know y'all love Amy, but I was like, if it was like an Amy situation, I would have been seething. I was like, y'all just gonna let this rock all fifth season, the whole season, she gonna be like this. Like I couldn't stand it. With this one, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to let it happen. Now I can't let it happen because that'd be weird, and I don't like that when they do weird stuff. But I don't know. I was kind of for like a hot second. It was like 3 to 5 minutes where I was rooting for it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna let this rock. But then obviously, they made it more familial, more paternal, and so you can't go backwards. You can't go backwards with that. That's weird. But yeah, for a minute, I was like, okay, I see it. But like this is cute. This is a cute moment. She's a cute girl. She's fun. And also, like, I like that they're very musical. I kind of like I both don't want more musical episodes, but I also wouldn't be mad about it. That was tricky. I'm like, because the Goblins got most of that. And I feel like we need like the Goblins can't show you out. Like you gotta one up the Goblins because they be eating babies, so they are not the heroes.
Bree is demanding more musical episodes.
I don't mind it. It just depends. It was actually threw me off in this one because they had talked about it. I think it's gonna be a musical episode, and that, of course, me self-preservation left my mind. So when I was like, not a beat kicking in. Like I literally was like, a beat, like a beat. What is happening? And then it's the Goblins. I'm like, oh, okay, this is happening. This is a thing that is occurring. So it was fun, but it also did throw me off. But I'm with more musical episodes on this one. It got to be. It can't just be like, I don't know. It's hard to top the Goblin kicking off the musical. So I don't know where you can go from there. So I guess we got to deal with however they decide to bring it forward. But yeah, how do y'all feel about Ruby Sunday? I was like, her name sounds familiar. I'm thinking of Ruby Tuesday. That's a chain restaurant name. I was like,
yeah,
she is named after. I was like, she is definitely ain't named after a place where you can get like a blooming onion or something. Like it was right there the whole time, and I just got it right now. I was like, Ruby Tuesday. Anyway, I wonder do they know that? Or were they aware of that? I don't know. We gotta see. But yeah, how y'all feel about Ruby?
I was surprised that I liked her because also when I saw her again, I was like, oh no, it's another Rose. And when I was introduced to Doctor Who, I was introduced by my best friend who hated Rose. So we didn't even watch Rose episodes. We started with Martha. And so then I hated Rose. And eventually I went back and watched her season, but I just haven't inherited that. But I felt like she was fun and relatable in a way. Like I'm a very accident prone person. And the way that she was like, yeah, and then I dropped this and I tripped and I lost my job and I almost got hit. It's just like, yeah, I understand. And how she just explains that to her friends and the people in her life. Minus the whole lack of urgency with trying to get this baby back. But she just seemed like chill and relatable and fun. And I think they had good chemistry working together. So yeah, I'm not as upset as I thought. I thought I was gonna come in and be like, here she goes again. But actually I'm like, okay, I think I'm not mad at it. I mean, it would be nice, obviously we know to have different people on the TARDIS, but she was not a bad choice. Also, I wanted her outfit, so I'll just put that in there. And I probably will find them little shorts things.
They called them skirts back in my day. It used to be a thing. We bringing it back. I hate that so many things.
We have the same day, Nicole.
I don't know, because you said it like you ain't never heard of a skort.
I
Baby,
wasn't
skort
sure.
was
'Cause
it.
I couldn't
Skort
tell
was
if it was
it.
a short or if it was just shorts.
I think it was a skort. Maybe it was just shorts. Now I'm trying to
I
think.
wasn't sure.
Now I think I'm superimposing the kilt on the shorts. I don't know, but skorts were a thing. We used to be about that life. Yeah, she's cute. Rebecca, you have any thoughts about Miss Ruby Tuesday Sunday?
Again, yes. I too was skeptical. I was like, oh yeah, this looks like a Rose Point too. Like Russell cannot let the TARDIS not have a blonde girl. But yeah, no, I really liked her as well. I definitely got more instant bestie vibes from the Doctor and Ruby's dynamic, which I'm like, yes, please give me more of this. I like this a lot. Like the way they were just like bickering with each other straight away, but they obviously got on really, really well. I was like, yes, I can take this. And then also like at the end where she was like figuring out the time travel, I was like, yes, this is something I like in a companion. Like she just spilling it out and just like voicing her thoughts. And then she had a little squee at the end when she figured it out. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy. I love you, Ruby. So yes, I'm excited moving forward.
Also,
one was Houdini moment was funny, but then also like the Houdini thing has come up multiple times, right? Like,
right. I was about to say it gets more sexual as they bring it up. By this time, I'm like, okay, y'all
was doing
this time, like multiple times they would say it, but this time I was like, they talk about Shabari, okay? They talk about something else. Something else is going on. What I also liked about Ruby is that I thought she would, based on like just images, and you know, I tried to stay away from a lot of stuff. I thought she would feel younger and more like naive and kind of like, I don't know, childish. And I'm kind of glad I'm saying she's young, but doesn't feel like she's at that age of like young enough to still learn things and have like new experiences, but like old enough to not need to be handheld. I was kind of concerned. It was like, oh, it's Disney Plus, we're gonna go younger, like a teenager that's like a teenager, like Disney teenager, like, you know. And I was like, no, she's actually like an adult that you can see living on her own, doing other stuff, and obviously different circumstances are why she's with her family. But you can see her being an independent person that's like doing her own thing. And I kind of thought they were gonna lean younger into like a person who would feel that they, I don't know, maybe that probably to make that, because he comes off and like appears so young, that they would go younger to make that disparity bigger. But they actually kind of feel more like peers than I thought they were going to feel, which I actually enjoyed. Because I was like, I don't want him to be like, we already talked about him being a space fed. He already got that authoritative thing. I don't want it to be emphasized more because it's a companion that feels like they need to be taught or trained or whatever. Like, I don't know. So I also like that about her. Like, she's young, but she feels very like together. She feels very much like a person who, even though she doesn't know who she is in the grand scheme, I think she's very self-assured. She knows who she is right now, right? So I thought that was a good character thing, and like it made me like her more as well. I think 19 was said somewhere.
I guess they have different drinking ages, I suppose. I was thinking.
Yeah, they start. I forgot. What is it, Rebecca? What is the drinking age?
It's 18.
18, right? Okay.
So yeah, it might have been 19 then.
Yeah. So I was like, I like that about it, because I thought they were going to go US teenager. Like, you are not drinking. You are not really on your own in a sense. Like, she's not on her own anyway, but I feel like she could very easily play an adult who's independent living on their own. But I like that she's like the third generation in that house.
Have raised a question for me, Nick, that I was like, at the end of the episode, I was like, whoa, we're going on an adventure. Like, she's on the TARDIS without, like, they just got a baby though. Like, is she really gonna leave?
Gotta blast, because I'm not the foster parent.
I have so many questions about
I am the foster sibling.
The family.
I think Lulu Bell got it. I think Lulu Bell gonna be fine. I do not think
much care Cherry, right? Like, because she's up, she's talking, she's joking around, but it's not like, I'm just like, again, so now Carla is caring for Cherry and the baby. I'm just saying, I feel like there could have been family conversation.
I
Before
mean,
she dips.
she might have did the quick math like she did to figure out that he was a time traveler and be like, I mean, if he could time travel, he could just drop me back off in 30 minutes. She might have already did them calculations in her head, so she feeling like she don't know. She don't know yet that the TARDIS does not care about your feelings or your life or your responsibility, and the TARDIS gonna drop you off when the TARDIS drops you off.
That's what I'm
You'll
saying.
get there when you get there. She don't know that yet, so she might have planned it with the idea of like, oh, he can drop me back off in 10 minutes.
Critical time to be jet setting with no conversation.
But also, like, it is also still unclear to me because, like, she had a job, like, she does all this stuff. I'm like, she lived there. They say it, like, oh, you know. But I feel like I don't think it would be actually out of pocket or whatever for her to be not in the house that much. Like, she seems like she's out all the time. I mean, it's kind of assumed that she's like out. She does nightlife. Apparently, she in the band. She had another job additional to the band. So, like, she be out.
Family expenses at some point, and then like there's the mention of like, oh, this being a stable like apartment. So I'm like, again, you know, and maybe it's just me because I'm in like a multi-generational family situation right now, and so it's like one person's stuff changing really affects the whole unit, right? So it's like, are they dependent on your income? Like you done lost your job and then did like do
into
the
that
companions get a stipend? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out if my girl Sherry is gonna be okay.
Leaving them high and dry.
Make her tea.
Did she
like go back?
No, she did.
Carla's apartment because again,
that was where I was like, hold up. Because
there are cracks in the windows.
I'm like, you didn't crack the whole.
Both of you just hopped in the TARDIS. And I just want to know.
Like maybe they like got in the TARDIS, and then he's gonna have to call the people to come and fix the apartment. Like you can't just leave them with the apartment with a big old crack. And then this is kind of off topic, but on topic because I was wondering if this was an intentional thing. So it's a crack. It was a big old crack, and then sis was gone. It was an alternate universe. And I was like, that sounds familiar. And I'm thinking about Moffat also had a crack, and Amy's family was just gone. And was like, and nobody knew. And I was like, is that a callback? Like, is he doing a callback? I love that as a thing. Because I'm like, if you're doing a callback, that means you are continuing the story as opposed to overwriting the story or like pretending things don't exist. So I love that. But I also was like, oh, y'all gonna fix that crack. Y'all ain't gonna leave them. Because they also in a rent stabilized apartment. I don't know how landlords do out there, but I feel like a landlord out here would be like, oh, you know, fix that crack. Right. Yeah. Then they gonna have to go. Then I can fix it later and then hike up that rent. This is nothing logistically. I'm like, now you just started several new topics that you shouldn't have. Because now I'm thinking about this. And they mentioned it multiple times. Like you said, in the interview with Davina, she's like, yeah, you know, because the money thing. And then when lady like, why y'all live in the attic? She's like, because we got that rent stabilization. Okay. So like we know that it's a factor.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, before they pull off, they better pull to a handyman or somebody better come fix this crack. Y'all, the TARDIS, but somebody better do something. That's crack. Don't leave them. There's a baby in the room with that crack. Like
I'm saying, I'm just like 30 more seconds. It's fixed. Would have been enough. And I'm just like
I'm kind of hoping we get like them pulling off in the next episode. It's like they did. Like we gonna get that. Hopefully, I hope they're not like they just gonna be floating in space. 3 weeks can pass.
Right, we don't know the crack.
Like, don't do that. No, you didn't spend too much time investing me in this situation. We need to wrap that up before we be out there. Yeah, but I was like, I'm glad she was with it. And she like kissed her like, me out here. But I'm like, girl, you can't just that ain't a bye-bye kiss. That's to say I'm going to the store kiss. You better tell her if you about to for real leave. So yeah. But also she seemed like the type who would simply disappear for a week. And they would be like, there go Ruby out in them streets again. Her and her friends, and when they doing a tour, in Ireland. They just performing because that's how she is as a person. Like it feels like it would go with that character. Like I would not be surprised, and I don't think they would be surprised by her not coming back for a few days.
It's just the Christmas Eve of it all. But maybe they would like attribute it to her being like, you know, upset about the family research situation. I don't know. That's a whole other plot line we didn't really get into.
I like how because we got thoughts and we want to save those thoughts. But I think let me see. Okay.
It's the
We have
birthday. She said last minute birthday trip.
We didn't skip it, but there is a rant that I think is important that we bring up. Our friend Amani said that there was not enough shooting in the club. And I have to agree. That should have been 45 minutes. You know how they have those episodes of like just music and like a fire in a fireplace? They should just have 45 minutes, like a loop. It's just a loop of just like Shooty dancing, the music playing, and we just watching that. Yeah. Mistakes were made in this episode because we could have not talked to the civil servant. That could have been a whole thing that was omitted, and we could have got an extra, I don't know, 90 seconds to 2 minutes of the twirl. And what I like about the twirl is that it's the 11 Doctors little wedding dance, but like if you have rhythm, if you have hips, if you know how to kill them with the shoulder, it was that. So I like that it's an evolution of the like the doctors, like first the doctor's doing a little head nod, the doctor grows, like they develop, and that is seen through the dance moves because now we are at the point where the doctor is able to use multiple body parts at once, because usually you gotta pick one. It's like arms. Okay, we get arm, we get head, but you don't never get bone. Anyway, we're gonna make sure this video is hidden after this. Audio will be available, but video shit. And like my good friend Bree said, it was legs and hips and body, and that's literally what I was saying when it was like when in the episode. I was like, I gotta stop. So I'm glad that wasn't just me because I really sang it. I was like, yes, hips, legs. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna definitely make sure this video is hidden. So if you ain't here now, you ain't gonna never see it. So that's period. Point blank. You got to imagine what happened here today. Okay. I think we got anything before we get to the one big one. Any more thoughts before we get to that? Because once we get there, I feel like it's gonna turn. It's gonna take a turn.
I have a rave, which is Shooty's fake science talking about them gloves and hanging off the ladder, and then talking about the language of rope. I'm like, I'm with you. You are the doctor. Thank you. I will take more of this.
I love it because
I second that.
Could be saying anything.
Literally anything.
Literally anything. But it was wild. It's like I understood it. I was like, no, I followed it.
We said when you burnt the gloves, you get heavier. And we all said, yep, that makes sense.
It made sense to me. I felt it. I'm like, you're doing the opposite. So now I'm heavy. No, I followed it. That I was following. No, me and the doctor, we was locked in. I felt that. I was like, I see what happened because it's weightless. But if you do the opposite, it's weighted. Okay? So pulling it down. The glove was on 3% though. And he took the whole ship down. Whatever. They forgot that they told us the gloves was on 3% earlier. It's the problem. But they said, 3%. And then he's not having to pull the whole ship down with 3% power. Seems fake to me. Because them last couple of percent are just there to tell you that the glove's gonna die. They just be like, it's gonna die. They use their last bit of power to tell you, like, you ain't got no battery. But anyway, he did what had to be done. And he may or may not have massacred a whole entire ship full of goblins. Which is fine because they gobble. And when you gobble, when you do gobblery, the gobble comes back to bite.
Well, we also we didn't get clarity on like if they just eat like other conscious beings or if it's like we usually eat this.
Well, they said it's better than beef. The song says it's better than beef, so it makes me feel like they have a balanced diet.
There you go.
And I feel like babies will be like a delicacy, like escargot, like something that they get sometimes. Like, we found a baby. It might be, time for the little treat. But
we can't just pass them off as, gobbling terrorists.
Just gobbling humanity. Because clearly, if that was the case,
this would have come up before.
Right. It would have been a little bit of like a I don't know, because the way they disappeared out of the reality. I was like, maybe they do be out here just gobbling, and people just forget. See, this is what I'm talking about these logistics. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it.
Because her whole thing was just erased. Yeah.
Right, because like with the ship, it wasn't on there. Nobody heard the ship land on the church.
Which reminds me, and then also because Bree said something about the neighbor in the chat, but then what you were just saying also reminded me that like just so used to Doctor Who, it didn't even occur to us to bring up Ruby's mom. The fact that there was like no one knows, like Ruby's birth parents are not in any database anywhere. They ran DNA, couldn't find nobody, which seems suspect. And then the doctor just making the choice not to go after her to look at her, right? Because there was that moment where the doctor realizes like, oh, that's probably the person that left the baby, like walking away, and then turns and goes back into the TARDIS, which I thought was a like good choice. But it seems like that might be something that they come back to, especially because she seems so invested in finding this birth family. We don't really get the why or where that investment is coming from, or the, I can accept that. That's fine. But yeah, so there's this mystery, this lingering mystery of like who left this baby on the church steps, and are we gonna return to that at all? And is it like a human person, right? I'm just like, is this something where we're gonna find out, wibbly wobbly timey wimey things are happening,
right? No, yeah, they definitely are.
Clara situation, like what is happening?
Hopefully not a Clara situation, but no, like the synopsis literally says like, and perhaps the secret of her birth. Like they don't address that in this episode. That suggests to me that they are like opening the mystery of this is a person who there are mysterious origins. Because otherwise, it's like, a person didn't want to have a baby, they dropped the baby up. I always wonder, because they never show them knock on doors. Do they just check the church doors at 12 every day? There's a baby. Yeah, we check. It's really snowy. This is a thing in all media. When the baby is left somewhere, they just leave them and go. They don't knock. They don't scream. They don't be like, get a certain distance so they, won't be spotted and be like, it's a baby. Like nothing. They just leave the baby, go. Baby don't be crying. Sometimes the babies be crying. This baby just in the snow, not crying. They was like, you know what? I'm moved to check the door right now. Like, I just, that's one of those things that I don't like in general, but I did like it here because they did it twice. Because the doctor also was like, all right, they didn't knock when they found you the first time. So I guess I'm going to just drop you here and assume the same person going to come to the door. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, no, and Britt, I couldn't really see anything about the person that left the baby. They were like in. I
felt like they was like dressed, and I can't explain that, but I was like, this person is not giving. It's not giving like a person who has no money or like something like that, or coming from a rough. This came like a person who might have came from somewhere. They good, but they had to leave the baby for a reason type situation. It was not given downtrodden, if that makes sense. It was very much given like this is a person with means that is like, they was like, this is just the best way. And again, it might be timey-wimey. They know what happens. So they know they got to leave the baby at the porch and not ring the bell because that's what had happened already. But yeah, I was just like, okay, the mom is definitely, and then like, because we see at the beginning, the doctor is like having, and we like, oh, he, the tear. We love a single man tear.
I'm also not necessarily convinced that the person that left the baby is the birth mom, which is like, again, so
that's what I'm saying. It's like a lot to it. Does not, but it did not lend itself to me to like the mom having to leave a baby. It's like a baby having to be saved. So somebody did the job of taking the baby and leaving them in a human church. Like it don't necessarily mean they're not human. It just means that was the thing. I had the same thought, but I do think context tells me that is going to be part of the season. Like again, bring it back to like the interviews that Ty did. Like it sounds to me like they are going to be exploring it more. How much of the season that's going to be, I don't know. But yeah, I definitely was like, this is the synopsis makes you think that is going to be part of the episode, but it actually is just the thing they know.
So Bree, I had that question too. So this is the neighbor that we see at the end, the neighbor that like seems to know about the doctor and the TARDIS, though it's not clear if the doctor recognizes her? I'm not sure.
See, here's the problem.
I was like, is Mrs.
Miss
Flood
Flood
somehow invited? Like,
here's the
what?
problem. Because at first, this is one of them things. Like, you shouldn't add it there if you don't need to be there. Because why is you harassing this brown man about this police box if you know what this TARDIS
That was
is?
a moment. That was a moment.
She was like, you dropping this off in front of my
Yeah.
house, so I can't get around it. Now, if you know the TARDIS is and you know it land where it land. Now again,
That
Tommy
wasn't
Wimey,
great.
that could have been the person that had not interacted with the doctor, and then the person we see at the end could be a person who maybe been on TARDIS a few times at this point. We don't know that, but the point is, you could have just not had it. You could have just not had that part. Then we wouldn't have to think about the relationship at the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode. She could just be a lady who like, oh, it's a blue box that keep popping up and out. And that could have been the whole story. But no, you had to add a whole explicit part of the storyline where she's harassing somebody who just happens to be a brown man about like parking it in her. It ain't right in front of her house. Go the other way. How about that? So again, stop adding stuff that you now then have to contextualize because it was not a question nobody would have had. Nobody would have been like, oh, wonder what these people think about that TARDIS on the sidewalk. Nobody thought that. That is not needed. Because then it makes the whole end very weird. Because I'm like, now she loved the TARDIS. She go up for the TARDIS.
So you just like harassing that man for no reason.
Right. But then again, which I was like, maybe she just like to harass this man. Which again, problematic, but fine, because some people are like that. It's the fact that at the end she's like, oh, that was like, oh, willy-nilly. Lady. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Because if I was him, I'd be like, nah. I would not feel safe around that lady. Like she probably be calling the cops on me low key. I don't like this lady. So it was weird. It was like a weird thing that they could have just omitted. I don't know. Oh, Bree said she heard that she heard some people talk about possession or something. I mean, I don't know. It was weird. I definitely, the way I tried to interpret it, it was that the person that we met at the top of the episode when they first show her interacting with him is like a person who had not experienced the TARDIS in any way, shape, or form. And the person at the end of the episode maybe has. Like, she is not in the linear timeline. The person at the end is the person who is maybe not even just in this episode, but has already, the doctor might already came and resolved several things at this particular point, and she's already experienced it. So she's like, that's just the TARDIS, right? But again, if you don't force a question that nobody would have asked, if you could just not do it. You could just have her be that neighbor, and we would have been like, oh, of course. She old as hell. She probably really remember these boxes. That is not a nice thing for me to say, but I said it. She did say she remembered them. She's like, yeah, they used to be on the corner. And yet again, why are you mad then? They're bringing them back. But yeah, it was just a weird thing they added, which it's probably meant for us to wonder who she is. But I'm just like, no, why you racist? Like you being racist in front of the Claire. I don't know what's going on because all your neighbors appear to be people of color, so it's given. It's not a cute.
It was very weird for her to try to like enlist Ruby in that, and then we see that Ruby has a black family. I'm just like, this. It
was weird. It was like a weird thing. And I get it because again, they're like those people exist. And like there is part like you want to make like you don't want a fake world where like oh it's all rainbow, but the way you do it, the way you include them, is weird. Because you didn't need it. Well, we know because we live here. So yeah, it was weird. But I'm like, whoever she is, she better come correct. She better come correct because I don't like how she was talking to my boy. He was really just minding his business, walking down the sidewalk trying to do what he did. And she's like, why would you park this in front of my house? Boop, 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 bye, bye. Girl, first and foremost, this is clearly a building where all these houses are connected. It's all our house. But yeah. But yeah, she definitely went through something. For my own sanity, I'm gonna say that she had experience on the TARDIS between when we meet her in the end of the episode. And like it might be a thing that we see the doctor interact with her multiple times throughout the season. So she's like in a different level of knowing by me. Or maybe she's like a companion just trying to be funny. Who knows? I don't, because I don't know all the old companions. But hey, I guess we'll figure it out. It was weird though. Breathe like this, she she acknowledged that it moved because the first time it was not there. She was like, oh, it's gone. But then when it came back, she was like, oh, it's over there now. But she didn't seem to be peeved about it. She seemed to be like maybe she knew it was a TARDIS the first time, but she was being racist. So when she saw a black man, she connected to the doctor. That was the doctor. She was like, oh, he's doing things the doctor would do. That's the doctor, which is still racist. So still problematic. Hey, I'm kind of thinking that might be it. Actually, she saw.
I mean, it is possible that she thought the first one was just a call box, and then when it started moving around, she was like, "Oh, that's the real deal." Like, it's possible.
Right, that's my boy.
You know, immediately say that's a TARDIS, and she's like, "Someone's got like a model of this thing here for some reason."
Mm.
Yeah, we got our eyes on her. Exactly, Brie.
All right. It's time for the one. So in our community, we have, obviously TARBIS is a thing, but we also just like people talk, we watch the show, we just have regular chats about the show. And one thing that came up in our kind of community that we pretty much all clocked and I didn't realize the thing until I said it, and everybody was like, oh, we all realized this is a thing then. So when the goblins gobbled up infant Ruby and thereby changed the timeline, Carla goes, oh, perhaps.
I know you were almost.
I was like, no. But no, this kind of can work out together.
Okay,
we're gonna make it work. No, but anyway, so like in the alternate timeline where Ruby does not get adopted by Carla, Carla is miserable, and not just miserable in terms of like not happy within her own life, but also projecting that outwardly. So like she has Lulubelle, and like I got this. Like I'm paraphrasing at this point, but it's very much, here go this fucking baby I'm taking care of on Christmas Eve. Which is weird for, let's go with like a million reasons. Because first off, you sign up to be a foster parent. That doesn't get thrust upon you. So let's start there. That is a choice you made. They don't just give babies to anybody. So it's a process. So first off, you could have not if you didn't want to. We can start there. But also, she just, when like the doctor is like, your daughter was just here, she was like, I never had a daughter. I never adopted. And I'm also like, you could have, because you've had 6 children in this version of the timeline. You could adopt another child. Whatever.
No, not everyone would be like necessarily
right, but I'm saying right. But I'm like, if motherhood is the goal,
right,
then you would do that, or you would go. Like, I mean, like, so it was problematic on several levels because just what our friend Joy, friend of the show, Joy Piedmont, brought up is like, it's very much a white savior trope, but in a kind of a reverse way, it's like adopting this white baby saved this black woman from being miserable because
of black women.
Like it's weird because it's like her circumstance is self-imposed for one. Like you could just not be a foster parent, right? So it's weird anyway to have her resentful of a choice she makes, because you can do a lot of things for money. You do not have to foster children. And the way that she speaks about it. So when I watched the episode twice. So when I watched it last night, my thought was like, damn, fuck them kids. She does not like children. I have more grace for it because I watched it today again, with knowing that was coming up and having more like intention about paying attention to it. So what I took from her talking to the doctor about it is that like it's her lying to herself in a way. So it's her telling herself like, I didn't really want a family. I don't want kids. I just do this so she's lying. She's saying these things. I don't care about kids. I don't want to do XYZ because that's how she copes with not having the life or the family or whatever she wanted. This is how I read it the second time. But that being said, these are several things wrong with that, even if that's the ultimate point. Because everybody does not need to have children to be happy, right? There are a lot of ways to get fulfillment, and a lot of ways that people who are not able to conceive get that fulfillment is by fostering and is by adopting. So it's weird because you have her do the thing, even in the alt timeline where she's not happy, but then she's mad about it, right? Like they literally, so like Joy said, they added, and it just makes Ruby seem like a special, like mind you, on the original timeline, we see 33 children on this thing, different types of children, different ages of children. You telling me out of all them pretty little babies on that refrigerator, this was the one little white baby, because she had other white babies. There was other black babies. Okay, that was the one baby that was like, this is the baby I got to keep. This is the one that's gonna fulfill my life. It's weird. It's a very weird thing. The way they did that was really kind of janky. And then they also like brought Cherry into it. Like Cherry was minding her business. She's having her nap. And the doctor's like, what happened to your granddaughter? What happened to Ruby? She's like, oh, there ain't no babies here. We were never blessed with that. And it also, so it's like fucked up on another level, because it also means like in the happy timeline or the real timeline, whatever versions, like they call those kids family, even if they were there for days, months, weeks. But in this timeline, they don't consider those kids, like their whole ideology around what family is built around the idea that like a Ruby, like you telling me without Ruby there, they consider these kids nothing? Like they are nothing to them, no connection at all. That don't make sense. Like, yeah, having children, being around children changes your perception of family. But I don't think like you are intrinsically gonna like find a baby and all of a sudden your whole, just everything about how you perceive family and children changing. That's just not real life. And that they don't even say that that's the first baby she ever. It suggests, I mean, I think canonically Ruby was not the first, but it was the one that stayed, what she said. So like you didn't have other kids in this house before Ruby. But for somehow Ruby was the one. I don't know. It was, we all agree that was poorly done. And it's like it can't, like you can make the point that Ruby coming into her life, maybe the timing, maybe something made her special and made their life better for XYZ reasons. But the way that they did that was just like genuinely all I thought. Even when I watched it, like I said out loud, like, damn, fuck them kids, I guess. Like the kids, all the other children that this woman has fostered before Ruby, after Ruby, and it's just meaningless, even though they just established that like she thinks of all of them as family. How do we get here? And the answer is just Ruby makes that difference. That's not a good look. It's like it's worse on the second. It's worse on the second watch because I'm like, again, paid attention to it more. And like I do still think part of that was she's saying that, and it's like defensively. Sorry. No. Yeah. I was just like, she's saying it defensively. I get that. I understand the function of her doing that, but why did we have to see that? Like you could have just, again, another thing in this episode that if you wouldn't have brought it up, nobody would have asked you about it. It wouldn't have gone questioned because it doesn't need to be in the episode.
And it's the multiple choices together, right? Because it's like that change in the family would have been nonsensical regardless for everything that you said. But then they made Lulu Bell black, right? So Carla is saying all these things while holding a newborn black baby girl, which just kind of really made it work like more painful for me to watch. So that was one other choice that happened. And then like Joy is saying in the thing here, like it could be that, you know, Ruby is special because Ruby is the kid that didn't have family to go back to. But I think that's also covered in the moment where Carla tells Ruby that she's happy that her like biological family search didn't come up with anything. Which she was, you know, we were talking way about
too cavalier
in the Discord that. Was like
I'm glad she didn't find
right? Like it's fine to feel that way. I understand feeling that way as a parent, you know, as someone who's like cared for a child and been like, this is going to bring so much up and it's going to be complicated and like this is my child. But know that most people would say that in that way.
Like, she said it so.
It's like my birthday has been ruined because nothing came up, and this thing that I really want is not happening. And right, for you to just be like, well, damn, that's what I was hoping for. Like,
yeah, it's a whiplash. They go through too many like. It's like an inconsistency of character for Carla, because like you establish her as a person who like has like is just called to care for people and care for children, and like and she thinks family. She doesn't have these big strict notions of family. It's like I took care of you, you were in my house, you were in my care, you are family, I love you, whatever. And then you have that like in an alternate universe, she never becomes that person because she didn't meet this particular baby. Fine. Because again, like Joy said, like we said in our conversation about it earlier, it's like I understand being resentful because you get attached to the kids and then you don't get to keep the kids. That is a thing that is very real that people who foster children have, and there is a way to do that where it's not like fuck them kids, because that's what they did. I'm so sorry. Like, why she buying holding the baby? Like, I can't believe this shit. Like, I can't
literally.
Like, you literally got the baby. The baby did not appear.
They could have left Little Bell in the room and still had the conversation.
Right, anywhere. You are literally like, the baby is like not knowing what's going on, but the baby is internalizing it somehow because you just look at the baby in the face, talking mess about this baby. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I know people don't remember they like infanthood and toddlerhood, but I remember toddlerhood. I'll be like, I remember you said. No, but it's just weird because like you say, the optics of that is so weird because they are doing all of this. She's holding that black baby. And then also earlier when the doctor first sees Lulubelle, like he is having a moment of connection with that baby, of like seeing himself in her. So it's also a weird thing to have him have to experience because he's like also a foundling. But then it's like, on the other hand, mind you, you bitch ass on site is like the bad version of that. Like, I got this goddamn child, I'm gonna just do whatever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a weird thing to also make the doctor experience because the doctor is now just kind of starting to see themselves or fully appreciate that they are adopted or that they're a foundling, right? Because their whole life they thought they was just born and raised at this place, whatever. And you find out not only are you not from where you are, who you are, but then you was patient zero in experiments and all. Like, that's wild. So it's like, again, several bad choices happen concurrently, but they all kind of center around this really weird optics of this black mom who was just didn't get this white baby and is now apparently the worst version of herself, and like she's just being a very bad. Because it also looks bad. Like, it's like foster care is not great for a lot of children, but it is also very great for a lot of children. There are a lot of children who go in foster care and are loved and taken care of, and it's not the worst thing that ever happened to them, right? And so we always see the opposite of that story. Like, we always see the ones who, I went from home to home, I wasn't loved, I was abused, and that happens. But you rarely see that I went to a home and they were just like family to me, even when I aged out, or even when I went to a group home or whatever happened, I still had that family that cared about me, right? And that happens so much. Like, I was in foster care for a short amount of time because I was a bad child who didn't go to school. And like, I thought, like, I was still able to see my mom and whatnot, but like, I was in places that was cool. Like, I was like, oh, this ain't that bad. Like, I'm glad I get to go home. Like, I get to see my mom all the time. She can visit me. Some of these people can't see their moms, but like, I'm safe. I feel safe here. Like, so it's like you also make the foster parents look bad, which is they already do. Like, foster care is overwhelmingly presented as something that people do selfishly. So like, I also hate that because like, I get the check $800 per child. I'm like, first off, and she said it looks a little too much like hard work. And I'm like, at least that's why I said right before this started, I was in the chat like, no, it's worse the second time because I didn't hear all of that. Because you also doing, it's like you playing on so many tropes. It's like you playing on bad.
It was awful.
You playing on like, it's giving the same kind of effect of like a welfare queen of like, you just got the kids from the money.
No,
exactly. All that, it's like you playing on so many bad tropes, and the fact that there's a black woman is making that 10,000 times worse. I was like, ooh. It did not.
Funny. Like, I was gonna say it's funny.
No, it's funny in that trauma way.
The other, like the trauma that some of us are still holding on to from the Chibnall area, where the second we saw that Ruby had a black family, we were like, one of them finna die. Like, we're not making it to the end of this episode without Carla or Cherry or something crazy happening, right? Like, these goblins about to do something, and I was
honestly like they might not save the baby. I was like, they're gonna switch it up. The baby getting ate.
Watch this baby's gonna be eaten. Like, we have to watch a black child get eaten. Like, what is happening? So like, after holding all that stress for most of the episode, and then finally getting to the point where it's like, okay, the baby's safe. I think my girl Cherry is good. I think we got it together. I think we're moving forward. And then to have that moment of like, oh, now we just, oh, this is where the racism was. I was worried about the wrong racism.
I was
not there in the end.
I was so used to like the physical violence and just like unnecessarily, being killed off. Because I was less concerned because I was like, oh, it's not. First and foremost, I think Russell T. Davies is on the internet. I think he reads what people say and I think he reacts to it. But also, I was just like, I know he's not going to do this. Like, I know he ain't going to do this. But that was like literally before the goblin started singing. I said, the baby might not make it. I don't know. Like, I was very nervous about it because I was like, this is the weird way to go. Because I'm like, the mama and like Carl and Cherry too obvious. I'm like, the only one. I was like, it's going to be the baby. But they started singing. I thought, okay, it's a musical. And somehow that made me feel better about the baby making it. And then, like you said, we get home. I'm like, chill. Okay, cool. She still ain't got her goddamn teeth. But fine. She's safe. I'm still mad about that teeth. I'm like, she asked once, she asked twice, she asked 3 times. I'm not going to repeat myself. This is one of them things. But I'm glad also that she kept reminding them. That is very much like what my grandma would do. She'd be like, dang, it would sure be great if somebody would give me that fucking tea I asked for 3 hours ago, but yeah, I was very like, oh, this is, once he got out of the danger, I was like, cool, right. Then I'm like, oh, the crack. I'm like, oh, Ruby left in the crack. Fine, we still got all the black people. I'm like, they gonna get Ruby back. It's fine. She's a companion. Like, I was like, it's cool. Nothing to it. We're good. And then they did that. I said, oh, how? It was almost impressive. It was almost impressive because I was like, I couldn't have seen it coming. I could not have in a million, and I can guess a lot of. I could not have seen it coming. So I was like shocked. I was like, oh, that went somewhere I would never have thought to go, and I'm appalled. I was like, but also like, it's one of those things. Like, you glad they safe, but at what cost? Like, I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, it was so annoying. It took me out of like, it took to me up until that point. It's very like a snappy kind of fun episode, and you get there and she's just like 360, a whole different person, just straight nasty, and like, and it because it's not just Carla, it's also Cherry, and she's very like, because it also like. It slightly also suggests that she barely taking care of her mom, if that makes sense. Like, she in there, whatever. I was like, damn, like, this one baby. I mean, she don't give a fuck about nobody else. That's crazy to me. Like, it's, the more I think about it, the more it makes me mad. But also, like, I am impressed that you found a way to get to this place. Like, it's like, when you make me question, like, violence, at least it's violence. Like, I can fight that. I can fight, how do you, like, what is it? You can't really combat this. Like, and then Ruby comes back and it's like, yay, I'm a lovely person again who loves people. That's a weird choice. Yeah. Even grandma looked more sad. That's what I'm saying. Like, she looked less cared after, which I don't like. Again, the assumption or what that says about the version of Carla that doesn't have Ruby is like a person who neglects her mom, or like a person who doesn't care about the people that she's supposed to care for. It's weird. It's like a messed up thing. It's a weird thing because this is one of those things where I know for a fact he thought he did that shit. This is one of the things where I know, where like I could see him in the edit bay, like looking at this coming together and thinking like, God, I did that. Like, he just knows that he made that point so succinct and so, but not seeing all of the bad implications that he is like brought into this story now, because he just doesn't think like that. Like, he's just not thinking about those things the same way he was not thinking about the fact that like Mickey, the black boyfriend of a white girl who has gone missing, would be harassed, if not worse, for the implication that he hurt his white girlfriend. It didn't even occur to him. It didn't occur to him with Martha. The whole thing, apparently. Even a few parts that occur to him, which is like, oh yeah, like Martha's black in the past. We don't care about that here. In Shakespeare land, there are black people. More. We have those. It's fine. But he didn't think about the further implications of like the master and the black family working for free for the math. Like, I just don't think he has that range. And I thought he had more range. I thought he was a little bit better now because people have had nice things to say about his work. I think he has a really good eye for things that are specific to communities he's a part of. So if it's like black queer stuff, he has enough probably black queer people to be like, that's hella racist because he's working with them, but he does not have apparently black women, black parents, because baby, that was a mess on at least 10 different levels. So
it makes me like curious what it felt like for like the actors to sort of like do the scene and just be like, you know, this is the otherwise, like I'm excited about this season and being here otherwise and all these things, right. And just like, of course, you know.
Yeah, I am also curious about that because what I liked about again the whole one of the best things about the episode, I feel like it's just like really natural feeling chemistry. Like I really feel like believe that this is a family, right? Like I didn't have to be convinced of that. And so then to have the opposite version or like the mean, whatever, the nasty timeline version of that. I'm like, what did that like look like on the script? And is it even scripted where that's because things can be content can be changed with edits and with like where things are placed in a timeline. Like what they film and how they film it. It might happen here, but where it's actually placed in the episode is different. And that could change the dynamic of it, even though, like, I don't know. But yeah, I was just like, child, Russell, sir, go to hell. All I can say is this is by far worse than the women giving up power line, because at least I know what you thought she was doing with that. I can follow that to the end. Do I agree with it? No. But I can follow the logic there. This one is like, bruh, you said every bad stereotype, every negative thing you could think about, like black women, people who foster children, people who are childless, all these things together into one person. Like, that's crazy. Like, you didn't even split it up among multiple people so we can get different perspectives. You like, this one person has all of it. Wow, to me. Oh my goodness. Anybody else? I don't know if Britton's coming back because she's popped out to get a snack and apparently it's like, you ready to be back? I was like, would love to hear. I genuinely like would love to hear from you, Rebecca, because I know that we are obviously coming at it from our like black lens and our American lens. You are in the UK, so you have at least a better understanding of like culture over there. And I'm just curious how that read to you, or like what your thoughts were about that, if you have any insight.
For sure, like I definitely picked up on it as well, and it is definitely still a big stereotype that foster carers only foster for the money over here as well. It's like such an awful stereotype. So yeah, I definitely picked up on that. But just as you were talking, I just thought that we've now had 2 episodes in a row where the alien threat has turned people into really like bigoted people that do stereotypes. So you had Kate in the last episode saying to Shelley, like, I've seen you walk, da, da, da. And then this time we have black characters being horrible about having to foster kids. And it's just like, I'm not sure I'm up with that. Because like, I don't like the idea that firstly we'd have Kate saying that sort of stuff to Shirley, that we'd have that one of the occupational hazards of working at unit is that you might get ableist abuse off your boss because of the alien threat. And it's just the idea that like aliens wouldn't make somebody prejudiced and horrible. Like you'd think it would have to be there already. Like, okay, yeah, Kate apologizes straight away, and we do get Carla coming back to being a wonderful mom to Ruby, but like it sort of presents these stereotypical views and then says like, oh yeah, obviously the characters don't really think like that, but then it doesn't really challenge them either. Like it doesn't really challenge them effectively either. And it's like, Why was that there? Why was that there? Just not ideal.
Yeah, it's the again adding things or putting things in there to like get like you showing something, but you're not like you're trying to reflect the reality, but it's a reality that doesn't have to be reflected for one, because this is fantasy, this is sci-fi. We don't need to see it because we know. But if you're going to reflect it, then you have to then combat it. You can't just show it and be like, "This is the reality." You're like, "Yeah, we fucking know." Like we literally watch the TV, we watch news, we read newspapers. So like,
and
you either show it
also
or don't show it.
isn't always, right? Like I do think that I like that point, because you know, since we all the online discourse conversation that's been happening between like parents and teachers and about children, and like people hate children and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, I think that like part of what allows folks to not challenge some of the like their worst impulses or ways of thinking is telling themselves that like everyone else feels and thinks the same, right?
Yeah.
Is telling themselves. So that's when you end up being a teacher saying things like, even if these parents had all this money, they would still hate their children. Like thing to say.
I
But
remember
you
this.
say that if you genuinely
Believe it, yeah.
that everyone feels the same way you do. And so I think it's important to have like that's just not true, right? And then even the same with like to see like everybody is ableist, like everybody's thinking this, we're just afraid to say it because like whatever wokeness, like no, not everybody is waking up and going to work and thinking like terrible things about the people around them. Like some people are doing the work to check themselves, or when they like, you know, make a mistake or go over a boundary, whatever, are self-correcting. Like there are people that orient that way. And so that's the other thing that I think is harmful, is it like reinforces that idea that like, oh, actually everybody is secretly awful all the time. It's like, no, like why can't we just have a Carla that is maybe, yeah, she is upset or something's missing for her when Ruby's not there, but that doesn't mean
right
she is now a fully awful person, right? Or like, what other ways could we have shown the disruption that happens to Kit, you know, without that very specific type of attack? So it is interesting that to see like in the multiple episodes, we kind of have that reinforcement of like, I think there's a way you can say that like humanity has a long way to go, and that like I think you can talk about people causing harm without reinforcing the idea that like everybody is violent in the same way, because I don't think that that's true. And so how do you balance that better? Because I think both kind of failed at that.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, is that like, and it's weird because like with in the giggle, it's like all of us have the capacity for this, especially if you take away the things that make us self-regulate, the things that make us like good people, because goodness is really about being around other people. Nobody's good or bad in your own like mind, your own world, because you are not harming. You know what I mean? Like it's like the value of goodness comes from like how you affect other people. And so if you take away the things that make you want to be like, okay, let me not cause harm. Yeah, a lot of people are going to think or act a certain way, but that is what we work, and that is what we are. Like humans are built to connect, right? So like we automatic, that's what a conscience is. Like that's what separates us from animals, like the ability to reason out like that's dumb, that's not a good thing to like say or do or whatever, because we know it causes harm and we know that it affects other people. So it's like one of those things, like you can say on a base level humans are capable of this, fine, I can't argue this because we are. Then like, you know, the doctor has the whole little spiel, oh, y'all are horrible but y'all are also great and y'all also do this and that. Cool, that's a balance, fine. And this one is very much like you are, again, white savior thing of like, you are the worst version of yourself if you don't have, unfortunately in this situation, like this little white baby. Because again, baby. You had other babies. There were other children. Even in the worst version, the bad timeline, there were 6 children. You telling me 6 children were like, none of them sparked joy for you. None of them made you feel love or like fulfillment and being a caregiver for them, even if it was temporary. Weird to me. That's a weird thing. But So it's like,
which is also wild because you know that they had to experience a lot of crap raising Carla, right? Like, how many times did she go to the store and get treated like a neglectful nanny or like a, you know what I
something
mean?
like that,
Just like
yeah.
because and they don't have to go into all of that in the episode. That's fine. I don't need that. I don't
Yeah.
need you to go through that.
But you just
like
know the
black
reality.
mothers, especially with non-black children or mixed children or whatever, have a very specific experience when they are out in the world. It's not an
Yep.
easy thing to do. It's an easy position to be in. And so like for them to have raised Ruby and like come to this place where there's like love all around and whatever hardship they had to deal with, whatever racism they had to deal with, doesn't matter because of the love they have for this child. It just makes it interesting to say like, oh, without this experience, all of this is for naught, because there are other children that would have probably been easier to raise from infant to adulthood than Ruby was for them, just because of those dynamics. Like, and so I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, it was just like, it was the lack of care about like how that would, or what you're saying about all of those communities that are reflected in this one person who's, again, person who it kind of implied that she just wanted a family and couldn't have a family for whatever reason. It's not, it doesn't, they're not explicit about it. So it could be anything. It could be physical. It could be like not the right relationship situation. We don't know, and it's not important, but they make it seem like childlessness is like a thing that she regrets or like resents, but then also gives her a way into being a parent and then makes her resent that. And then also, like, you know what I mean? So it's like weird. Like, pick a struggle, pick a thing. Because I'm okay with it happen. Look, everybody who's childless isn't unhappy, but there are people who are unhappy to be without children, right? And so that can be a part of the story. She's like sad because she doesn't get to keep these kids, so she gets attached, and that's not hard to tell. You should be like, this is my sixth one. I have to give them back in a couple of weeks. It hurts, whatever. That's all you do. All the other stuff about the 800 quid per child, all this other, like, oh, it's on Christmas Eve and I gotta deal with this. You could have kept that. You could have left that. So it's like also just the choices you're making to tell this story. And like, again, Ruby can come into your life. Anything can come into your life and change your life. But it's the way that they like put those together with attaching that to this baby, to this particular child, because it's like so messed up what you're saying about all the other children. Again, mind you, we saw in that refrigerator different ethnicities, different genders. Like, it's not, the one commonality is just that they are all foster children, right? That's it. So why is this one child special? And then maybe the story will say why she would have been special in some larger magical kind of way, but that don't change the way that you are, like, that cannot fix what you have now established in this episode about her relationship with like Carla and also with Cherry, because like, again, both of them are in that alternate universe very just not happy, and that, like, unhappy and like dour and just
back to my question earlier though, because they do all of that and then Ruby returns and everybody's happy, but then she leaves again, right? She goes. So how are we supposed to say? And I hear you saying like maybe it is a thing where like she's gone all the time and it's not going to surprise them if she comes back a week later, but to have it be like with this person absent, this entire family and the way that they view the world collapses. And then 2 minutes later, have her run into the TARDIS.
Well, I guess they're saying if she hadn't come into her life at that time. No, like, it's not.
I know.
It's, again, I don't. Yeah, like that's the part I'm least upset about, because I'm just like,
that seems really wild to them just like sever.
Again, FTK, the FTK agenda. FTK everybody but Ruby, I guess. So that's weird. And like, Ruby doesn't know. Like, Ruby is also not aware of that because she did not experience. Like, if for her it was like, oh, it was a little hazy, like she was in another dimension or something. Like, she doesn't know. So that's also a thing that like, and none of them remember. So I'm just like, again, the doctor experienced it. So the doctor is like carrying that a little bit, like, damn, the world was a little dark for a minute there without saying, it's like, what's going on? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be addressed in terms of like the doctor's experience of that, because I don't think it's notable to them that all of these things happened, right? Like, I don't think it's noticeable. notable to them that like that person's entire characterization, the entire everything you were telling about that character changes because they didn't adopt this one child. And that's unfortunate that it's not notable to them, but it's like massive, especially if they are recurring. Because now I'm like constantly reminded, like, damn, if she hadn't met Ruby, she would have killed that lady or whatever. You know, like like anything that happens now, you gonna be like, damn, like we almost got a different version of this situation. This would have been real different if Ruby went around. Like it's weird. Like it's just a weird thing. Speak on it, Britt. Mind you, Britt is on camera but typing.
Yeah. I mean, y'all said everything about my issues with that scene, but I really, outside of the whole, we went left and down a field and wrong turn at Albuquerque. It was weird. I really love seeing the mom and the grandma as characters, and I like seeing their regular selves together and just the humor that they had and like the relationship that they had. It was nice to see. So I would love to see more of them, but not if they're going to be like in mortal danger.
We don't want to see.
I don't want to be stressed out, and I don't want to see an alternative reality version of them, but something where they can participate and it's something where they can participate and it's fun. Yeah, like I would like to see Grandma on the TARDIS with the Doctor. That would be a fun
get some lovely tea from some planet where they make like it's a tea planet that has all these.
Yeah, like
is there any tea on this spaceship?
Bring her.
Like you walk in like I'm not even coming on here. Ain't no tea. He like, oh, tea maker. Boop bop bop. We got the matter of fact, the kettle was on already. Like period. Yeah, I want to see them. I want them to be again like using like Rose and her mom and like Mickey and all of them. Like I like that they are characters that we learn and get to know and care about. So I want the same thing. I don't like Miss Flood. I need to know what she's about because she's giving something weird. So like if they revisit her, I hope it's to like settle the situation. But I don't want her to be getting like more time than my girls because Miss Cherry Sunday. She obviously with the shits because she was like, "Oh, doctor." But even though she looks like a grandma, she said last time I saw a doctor, he tried to kill me. I'm like, "Oh, black people! I swear to God." I was like, "This is my granny."
It was great.
But yeah, so like, I definitely want to see more of them,
right? Like
not in peril,
like that,
just having fun.
His grandma.
Like, yeah, I felt that. I did. That's what I'm saying. It's so weird because you have like you make choices that are so good, like that. Those characters to me, the real version of them are like great, and they feel like I literally was like, oh, this is a little too close to home. She's acting very much like my granny. So like they felt real to me. They felt very like that felt so relatable. So it was that's why I think it was so jarring. Like, whoo. Mm-hmm. I don't think like this is how they would be like from what because we actually kind of know these people, right? So that also I think is why it's so bad and why it's so like obvious because I was like I literally know these people. I literally know people who foster. I literally know people who've been in foster care. I literally know these kind of folks. This lady's McGrady. They might well be the same person. They talking the same mess. They just the exact thing, right? So like seeing that change happen, it's like I'm also projecting that onto like all the people I know who I'm like they would not be like my people would not do that. That would not change them that dramatically. So I think it's also that, but that just means like I don't know. It was the version of them that I guess that Ruby helped create. Whatever. I love and I want to see more of. Hopefully we do not revisit any timeline where Ruby's not there apparently because that's not cute. Do not like that. They're just very sad for me. For all of us, it was just not great. Hopefully, next time we see them, the roof is being fixed or is fixed. Okay, because
please don't fix Carla's house because I'm really
like like I'm not even remotely playing with y'all right now. Like that's a big old crack. It's a huge crack. You can hear the breeze. Like it's there ain't no masking tape for that. Ain't no duct tape for that. Okay.
And they broke the windows too.
Just like how it's just there's nothing to be done from a individual. Y'all need a team on that. Y'all need to get a crew, if you will, to fix that. So yeah, that was like the big. It was such a big thing that it absolutely halted the joy of the episode, like in a way that was. It was so jarring because literally I'm just like with it. I'm like, okay, even the goblin singing, whatever. The goblin singing, okay. The baby say, "Woo, we having a good time," whatever. Then it's like this, and it's like, damn, y'all really just turned this to a whole different kind of episode. Like it was weird. And then they go back. It's like we go back, and it's like no more. We all gotta live with this experience of having experienced this, and that's just it. So yeah, it was very jarring and very off-putting in a way that like, because I watched it twice. Well, let me watch it again and actually like pay attention to stuff to see if it's, and it was like worse. And because I knew it was coming, I'm like, oh, here it goes. Like, oh, they're gonna do it. So yeah, it's like I don't know that this is one of the episodes like I would want to tell people, oh, because you get to meet the doctor, but then I also gotta be like the caveat of this thing, which I hate having to do. It's the same thing with like the woman who brought the herb. It's like, oh, it's great, but don't you? I know you gonna like in this episode, and I need to prepare you. Because then it's like, damn, I can't even watch this. I can't even get into it because I know I'm about to be pissed off or I know I'm about to be sad or something. So, yeah.
Yep. All right, we gotta speed round these quotes from the TARDIS. We are beyond overtime. Robin's
but I
gonna
definitely
be like,
said
y'all
all
are
of mine.
unserious.
I said all of mine.
You said all your quotes already?
Yep, I said them in the context of where they were.
The only two I had on here was, I think it kind of connects to the one Nick shared before with the doctor talking about like the language of physics, but when he's talking about the language of luck and says like, this is a brand new science for me and I love it. Because it was just like a fun moment. It was a good delivery. I like all the moments when we see the doctor learning something new or like experiencing something new, because I tend to just believe the doctor always knows what's happening always, unless it's stated, and then we're all in that place of like new discovery. So yeah, I thought that was fun. And then I had a question about the moment when he's talking to Ruby about the family on the fridge, all the pictures of the little kids on the fridge. And Ruby asked him about his family, and he says, I've got no one. And I didn't know if that was like the doctor being like, I don't want to talk about this right now, or like, I don't know. I don't know if it was sort of like a dismissal of the subject, or if it was like the doctor is still in this like sad, lonely person state, right? I was like, because we were leaving last episode thinking that we were going to leave a lot of that behind.
But that's what it is. He left it behind. So he's like, me has no one. Because he left 14 with Donna. Right? So 14 got Donna. But he don't have Donna.
Okay. So 14 has a family, but he does not. That's where
I think it's more so like I think that's the line though. I think the line is like,
that's interesting.
The doctors up to this point have that, and now the doctor from this point on kind of starting over. That's how I took it. Like it's very much like having to rebuild, because you're not about to also join, like because again, Donna husband will be like, you got to go, sir. I'm sorry.
Get out.
Go. You are not welcome here. I just took it more. I did take it as him being like this iteration, like this me is like I'm starting over in terms of like he technically knows that they are out there. Like he could probably find them, but like it's not the same as being like a campaign or somebody he can immediately pop up on, right? Like I feel like he said goodbye to all the people that were left. Like he doesn't have anyone. That's what I took it from. Not like, oh, everybody I care about is like not important no more. It's so much as like everybody is resolved, right? It's like all of that is
that's fair.
In the bud in a way.
I like that read of it as a sort of resolution thing versus like the doctor is still out here feeling like something is missing thing, because I just didn't know how to read it in the moment, but I appreciate that reading.
Yeah, like I kind of put it together with the like him acknowledging that he's adopted, right? So like there's also the idea of like in the same, and this is where they are parallel to each other. Like, you know who you are and the person you've been since you've been aware, but you don't know who you are in terms of where you come from and what that means, like what family you have out there. And you talk about, like, you know, family in the blood sense, or like in the, like, who I'm related to. You know who your family is that you've been around, but you don't know who. You don't know anything about, like, you don't know if you have predispositions to certain things. You don't know what about you comes from your family. You don't know what about you is genetic versus just cultural, right? Or something that you learned, right? So it's one of those things. I took it kind of together of being like, start from scratch. I don't have anyone, but also connecting with the idea of being adopted and not having a clue. Because for them, they literally don't know where to start. Because, like, a crack, they came through a chasm. They don't know where, like, what universe they're from, let alone what species or what time, you know, like how far into the future or the past they came from. So yeah, I took it that way. But I was like, let's not too much on that, but also took it very much like I'm starting from scratch with, like, figuring out who I am and building my family up again. Do y'all have any quotes?
I think y'all got. I feel like Nicole interlaced them in the in the like episode. So you kind of got the ones that stood out for me. But the whole rope thing, whatever, it's not even a quote, but whatever, when he was explaining the science, I was like, I love it because it doesn't make any sense to me. And I was watching with my roommate who doesn't really, she watched Doctor Who when I watch it, just we in the same, you know, living room. But she looked at me like, what?
like it was established science. No, this is new for everyone. This is
I can't explain this. And I love that moment.
I will say, I have one more. We are sticking with Mavity, apparently.
Right. I meant to write that too.
Continuing on.
I was like, because I was like, these ain't like the first time I thought I heard it, I was like, I wasn't clear, so I didn't write it down. So when I rewatched, I said, nope, they said Mavity. They said Mavity. Again, one thing I do like is a little consistency. Like, I know in this show it's iffy. But I do love that they sticking with Mavity. Like, it's like a funny, it'll be one of those things that, like, people say and it's like, if you know, you know, kind of thing. And everybody's gonna be like, they don't know words, they don't know language. Which is always funny. So yeah, I did love that too. I was like, did they name Mavity? And I didn't, like, I wrote it like, oh, maybe Mavity is still a thing. And then when I rewound, I was like, it is, it's still a thing. I love that. That's a fun one.
Yeah. Well, if you are watching, that means you do have an idea where to find us. But for those listening back, you know, find us at blacknerdscreate.com and on the site formerly known as Twitter at BLKNerdsCreate. We're also on Instagram and TikTok, and we'll be using our Tumblr more in the new year. So find us in lots of places. Oh, look at you. Talk to us using the hashtag TARBIS and tell us what you think about the church on Ruby Road. If you enjoy what you heard, you can drop us a TARBIS tip over at blacknerdscreate.com/support. And all tips and subscriptions help us keep our TARBIS instruments calibrated and our sonic screwdrivers charged.
Thank you to all our patrons, our BNC baddies, for being here. Thank you, Rebecca, Britt, Bree, Amani. Appreciate y'all, everyone who stopped by for the live. The audio episode will be up when it gets up. So y'all probably getting stuff that is not going to be in that. So enjoy this. Sorry, Robin. We do love you. Good luck with this edit. Yeah, thanks. And talk to y'all soon.
Oh, and I put in here, you know, sorry, we don't know when Who is returning, sometime in spring, but we will be at Galley. So, find us.
Find us. I got more details will be shared on our socials and in our community. So, also, bam, one last one before we go. We really leaving this time. Bye, y'all.